Well, this is something I don't think I've ever done before with over 3,000 videos on the channel. That says something. I am starting the second video on the same day, less than an hour apart from the same intersection, although this one promises to be a little bit different. And hello there, today is Friday, June 13th. It is 11:33 a.m. and the temperature right now is a rather nice 15 or 16 degrees Celsius. And this is University Avenue and College. That's crossed in the middle of the intersection. And not too long ago, I started a video from that corner of the intersection there, and that was an exploration of Queen's Park and some of the city's rather odd street sign naming conventions. There's a lot of inconsistency of the street signs around Queen's Park. But in this one, we're going to take a walk along some streets that are often mispronounced. There's a number of them that we can get to quite easily from here, and I'm probably going to end up at Yonge and Bloor or in that area. According to my camera, I've only got about 37 minutes of space left on this SD card. So we got to get moving. But this street here is Queen's Park, north of College. And it becomes Queen's Park Crescent, wrapping around the Provincial Legislative Assembly building. And there's a park itself on the north side of the Assembly, a public park, and then north of that, it just becomes a road called Queen's Park again, up to Bloor Street. But the first often mispronounced street we're going to take is just up here on the right. And there it is. You can think about how you would say that. Well, I'll get there and then reveal the one true answer, or possibly two true answers. But speaking of mispronounced, I've often heard of, or not often, but I have heard a few times people refer to Queen's Park Crescent here as Queen's Park Circle, which would make sense, but it's not exactly true. And I think most people just refer to it as Queen's Park, which also isn't really true, as officially just this little stretch around the building and park here is Queen's Park Crescent. Oh, that's sad. There is a ghost bike here for a 13-year-old cyclist who died in Ajax. Usually they're right around the spot where the accident took place. And here's another ghost bike. 47-year-old cyclist was killed in Kingston. I say was killed because usually that's the case. Sad stuff. There is the street name in question. And here's a hint if you're wondering how to pronounce it. The S is silent. So now we walk east along a street I often pronounce as Grosvenor, but I think the more common pronunciation is Grosvenor. But you'll often hear people call it Grosvenor. It was named after British nobility in London. There's also a Grosvenor Square in the UK, and that's home to the US Embassy. So a lot of these names are derived from the UK, and this runs between Queen's Park Crescent and Yonge Street straight ahead. And there is a McDonald block. And that features a number of different ministries within the province of Ontario, including the Ministry of Transportation. That complex has been under renovation for several years now. But we're going to go north at Bay Street here, and then head along a street that I've always mispronounced. It wasn't until I was doing some brief research on this, looking at Google Maps, and I kind of said, I bet I'm pronouncing that one wrong. And I looked it up, and sure enough, I was pronouncing it wrong, and that's just a block north of here, if I'm not mistaken. There's Trolley Lane. Might be interesting to do like a man on the street style series where you stand here with a microphone and ask people walking by how they pronounce the name of this street. Let's get moving here. So Grosvenor ends just at Yonge Street straight ahead, or Grosvenor. But it certainly isn't Grosvenor. Now we're heading north up Bay Street, a street formerly known as Bear Street. And here's a very short street that just runs a few blocks from here over to Yonge Street. And I don't know if anyone's ever corrected me on this one before. There you can see it, Breadalbane Street. I'll give you a moment to think about how to pronounce that. We'll walk on the north side, it's a little nicer. But I've always called it Breadalbane. Not sure why it's B-R-E-A-D. Instead of Breadalbane, which I think is what most people mispronounce it as. But it's actually Breadalbane. So it's more like B-R-E-D-A-L-B-I-N. That's another name derived from the UK. This one is of Scottish origin. Apparently there's a town in Scotland that goes by the same name. It's the Dr. Lillian H. Smith Park on the left, if I'm not mistaken. I am mistaken. I knew it was a Dr. Lillian. It's Dr. Lillian McGregor Park. Good job, brain. There's some other famously mispronounced streets we might save for a future walk. I can think of two of them just west of downtown. They're quite close to one another. This is Yonge Street, Y-O-N-G-E. I've heard it called Yonge Street on YouTube videos before. I've heard it mispronounced as well in person. I guess I can see why you don't really think of Y-O-N-G-E as making that short vowel U sound, but in this case it does. It was named after Sir George Yonge, another British-derived name. As we go north. Apparently he was an expert on Roman roads and a friend of Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe. There's another word people often mispronounce, lieutenant. Simcoe, who was Upper Canada's first lieutenant governor, chose to name the road after Yonge. You can tell I'm reading this here. Normally I try to remember this stuff. In recognition of his knowledge of road building and his interest in connecting the Great Lakes. Oh, there we go. And this is probably the single most recorded street on this channel. It's got lots of pockets of interesting urbanism worth exploring. From the very north end of the city all the way down to the lake. And now for a minor mispronunciation. How do you think you say this one? Thought my camera was in zoom there. W-E-L-L-E-S-L-E-Y. We're going to take this over to church.
In the office, Ian, Stephanie, and Wes. Wes is a fucking little bitch.
The little snippets of conversation here, but here's the station on the left. If I say the station name, that'll give away the pronunciation. Which I might as well do. That is Wellesley Station. It's subtle, but you don't pronounce the S. You pronounce it as more of a Z or Z. Think of it as Wellesley, W-E-L-L-Z-L-E-E, Wellesley. You'll often hear Wesley. I think a lot of people just kind of blend the S and Z sounds together. You get more of a Wellesley, but it is Wellesley. It was named after Arthur Wellesley, the first Duke of Wellington, who's best known for his victory over Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. And he had a rather short and unpopular tenure as Prime Minister of Britain between 1828 and 1830. We're all in, are you? And this is going to lead us into the Church-Wellesley Village. That's the intersection of Church and Wellesley coming up. And there'll be a big Pride Street Festival at the end of the month, capped off by a big parade on, I think, the last Sunday of the month on Yonge Street. This neighborhood is pretty much ground zero for the Pride Festival, and that's lost some really big sponsorship money over the past week. I think they have a shortfall of almost $1 million now. And that's a look south. We're at the heart of the Church-Wellesley Village. So we're going to go up north on Church Street just for a few blocks to our last mispronounced street name. And if I remember to, I'll put a bonus one at the very end of the video. So stay tuned to that. That should come right before the credits roll. But Church Street was named what it is because it leads directly to the St. James Anglican Church down at Church and King. I think it's the most iconic church in the city. Certainly the most photographed. Maybe the Church of the Redeemer at Avenue and Bloor. There's an oddly named road, Avenue Road. But maybe that one is also in the running. But there's no doubt it's St. James. This is Dundonald Street. And there's Stormcrow Manor. No debate on how to pronounce some of these street names here. Bloor, Thai Grilled Bar. Okay, since we're all clear on how to pronounce this one, just one more street. I don't know if you can see that clearly, but we'll take this extremely nice tree-lined residential street back over to Yonge. There it is, Gloucester. Place your bets now. A lot of you familiar with the city probably know some, most, or all of these. But I bet Breadalbane and Grosvenor are two most people would get wrong. And the common mispronunciation for this one would be Gloucester or Gloucester, but it's actually Gloucester. Glawstr would be an easy way to remember how to pronounce it. It's a really nice looking inn and guest house. And this one also has ties to the UK. There's a city in England that goes by this name. And I don't think there's any definitive historical record that points to it being named after that city. It seems likely. There was also Prince William Frederick, the Duke of I almost said the wrong thing, of Gloucester in Edinburgh. Here's some bonus trivia for you. Wabanose Lane. Wabanose? Let me know down in the description how to pronounce that. That seems to be a First Nations derived name. Well, the good news is it seems I'm in no danger of running out of SD card storage space. There's definitely some heritage properties on the street, which is interesting because you've got this late 60s, early 70s era apartment right across the street. Quite the contrast in styles. And here's a mainstay. A lot of restaurants come and go. And this one may have gone. No, it's Bumpkins. I got a sign there, Thursday diner, 5 to 9, dinner. And it looks like they haven't updated their menu or prices in forever. Brunch, French toast, 18 bucks. Maybe that's a weekend thing. This must be a business that owns the building. And here's a series of linear parks. And with it being such a nice day, let's cut through Norman Jewison Park up to the next street, which I think might be Charles. But these linear parks were closed off for years while they were renovated. They certainly provide a nice alternative. Well, it should be Isabella Street actually up next. And then Charles on the north side of that. That's a nice reprieve from walking up Yonge Street. This next stretch is George Hislop Park. Well, there's a number of cop cars there, 4 in a row. 5. That last one doesn't have lights on the roof. There is Iwa. popular Korean restaurant and bar next to Tapenko Video and Fun Bar. There's a really nice pub, the Artful Dodger. I used to go there, but there was plans announced to build a tall tower right next to it, and I think the owners were very vocal against it. And if you're not going to build up just off of Yonge Street, a major corridor right on the subway line downtown, then where the hell are you going to do it in a city with a housing crisis? Although the glut of condos has led to overpriced studios and one bedrooms nobody seems to want to buy or rent right now, but I think that'll correct itself. And that's mostly the city's fault. We're not demanding more larger units and more affordable units and new builds. Except for that one bonus mispronunciation coming up. This is pretty much it. We're just going to head north up to Yonge and Bloor. It's only a few blocks north of here. Now I have that classic conflict. If I go straight to the subway, I won't have to pay another fare. But it is 12 and I am feeling quite hungry, and this is a good area to grab a lunch in. But if I do that, I'm going to have to pay a whole new fare to go north. There's a 2-hour transfer window from when you first tap in. Is it worth a $3.60 surcharge to eat downtown instead of midtown? It's a very interestingly dressed religious character.
So it's a building from the 1900s. Yeah. It's a big place.
I guess if I was going to Bloor Yonge, I could have popped in to the station at Hayden Street. Like I said, there'll be a bonus mispronunciation, kind of an easy one, but nonetheless, one more to go. I hope you enjoyed this one. Do let me know your thoughts and comments down below. If you wish to support what I do here on YouTube, there's links to my Patreon and YouTube channel membership down in the description. I've got an Instagram account at Johnny Strides, and there is a super thanks button appearing down below if you wish to say thanks that way. From here at Yonge and Bloor, as we look up at 1 Bloor West. super tall on the rise. Anywho, thank you for watching. Yoink! And that bonus is not Eglinton, it is Eglinton. 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 Also often you hear people incorrectly pronounce it as Eglinton. I think it's me who has the pronunciation issues. But again, thanks for watching, guys. Yoink!